What's up, everyone? Welcome to a new edition of The Point. We have a great show ahead for you guys, and of course, we're going to delve into a discussion about Dylann Roof, but we're going to delve into an angle that you probably haven't heard much of in the mainstream press. And then later on in the show, we're going to talk about a girl who isn't paying attention to where she's going while she's texting. There are dire consequences to that, and we'll tell you the details. But before we get to all those fun stories, let's go ahead and meet our panelists for the show today. We have two returning panelists that I absolutely love. Andy Riesmeyer, he's the host of Webcam.
That's right.
Thank you for coming back,
Thanks
Andy.
for having me.
I'm always surprised when you come back because I feel like I don't know why I pick on you more than most guests.
Oh no, I'm happy. I'm happy to be picked on. I don't know, it's fun.
Okay, good. We also have Erica Williams-Simon. She is an editor for Upworthy and contributing writer for Time Magazine. Get it, girl.
I'm excited to be here.
Love it.
You have a real job.
Kind of.
Unlike the rest of us.
Yeah, no, we're pretending.
Right. All right, well, let's get started with some of the stories that we have for you guys today. Of course, we start off with some somber news. There was a very tragic shooting last week in South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina, to be specific. Dylann Roof, a self-proclaimed racist 21-year-old, went into a historically black church and shot and killed 9 innocent individuals during a Bible study session. Now, he also wrote a manifesto, and it was on a website called The Last Rhodesian, and he has all these pictures of himself online that have gone viral. People have been sharing the pictures to kind of get a sense of who he is as a person. And unfortunately, in a few of the pictures, he's wearing a Gold's Gym tank top. And that has upset a lot of people, even though Gold's Gym has absolutely nothing to do with this case and did not encourage him to wear a shirt and has nothing to do with his manifesto or his racist, violent acts. Now, let me give you some examples of what people are saying on Twitter. One tweet by LW says, Gold's Gym must be proud. The worst free advertising ever. He's not even buff. Hashtag poser. Hashtag Charleston shooting. Well, a Gold's Gym staffer has been busy responding to all of these tweets that they're getting on social media. And let me give you an example of some of the exchanges that you could find. Derica says, Gold's Gym, an image in media of Dylann Roof wearing a Gold's Gym shirt, holding a Confederate flag is offensive to its paying members. Okay, again, Gold's Gym has nothing to do with this. They didn't encourage him to wear the shirt, but nonetheless, they responded back and said, we are unsettled about the situation as you are. Unfortunately, all we can do is ask that those images not be shared. And then Derica was not pleased with that answer. It seems like you should be able to have more control over how your brand is used by the media.
Okay.
I feel like there are so many serious issues related to this story that we should discuss, right? Just the deep-seated racism that we have in this country, what we could do to actually solve it, the fact that people deny that he's a racist to begin with. I mean, that's the real problem. But we're focusing on a Gold's Gym shirt. How ridiculous is our society, and how do we move forward to finding solutions to serious social issues that we have when we're focused on ridiculous elements like this? Erica, what do you think? Make your point.
I mean, as if we needed any more of a reminder that humanity is in a really sucky place right now. You have racism, you have killing, and then you just have stupidity. I think this is a story that's just a matter of trolls. This is just people who either are reacting irrationally and kind of don't know where to place their anger, and so they're looking for someplace, or they're just dumb. Yeah. It's one or the other. But I think you said it right and said it best. It's a distraction, and we need to be talking about way more important things.
Andy, make your point.
You couldn't have said it any better. I think that unfortunately it is distracting from the issue at hand, which is that there's this horrible tragedy that occurred, and we should examine what the factors were that led up to it. Not so much of the externalization of what an asshole is wearing in an image. And yes, I mean, you have to really honestly believe that Gold's Gym is somehow either implicit in this act or condones it or has anything to do with it. You would have to either be totally moronic or a troll. Or both.
It's the equivalent of him in a picture holding a Starbucks coffee cup, and then someone will be like, oh my God, Starbucks, what do you have to say about this? Every single person in the United States has had coffee from Starbucks at some point. Right. That doesn't mean that Starbucks condones any of the actions that all of these people have committed in the past.
No, I mean, it's insane. And to say oh, well, you need to have more control over what the media does with your brand is just a complete ignorance. I mean, it's just someone who might as well be tweeting, I'm a moron.
Exactly. All right, well, here's the personal question for the story. When was the last time you were irrationally angry with someone? Erica?
Thinking about this, let's say that all the people who were responding to this story were not complete idiots, although I think the majority of them are, but then some, like I said, may have been actually angry, legitimately angry about what was happening, and then acting irrationally. That actually is pretty much what I do a lot. Like, I'll be angry about something that is very logical, very rational, but my behavior, maybe not so much. So I'm the person who, like, when I find something that really pisses me off, I kind of turn on psycho mode and go a little too far, a little too much, a little too extra.
I want to see you in psycho mode.
I know.
Oh, everybody else
You're
has.
so nice.
Stay tuned.
You're so wonderfully nice.
At least the reason for you being upset is justified,
Right,
right? I
right.
mean, I have some stories of me acting a fool over things that were not rational, and I'll tell you in just a second. But Andy, I want to hear from you first.
No, I've never acted irrationally in
Not
my
mine.
entire life. I will say that working in news, and especially being in a newsroom, you were sort of taught that being hot-headed and irrational kind of helps. And I think you are able to justify that kind of behavior, not necessarily because you're an asshole or like anybody's like actually offended by it, but because it's like, you got a show to do at 6 p.m. If you don't get to tape it, then like you're fired. So I think that kind of energy, you know, maybe is bad when you leave the newsroom, but I sort of like it.
We'll do it live, like that.
Exactly,
kind of
we'll
thing.
do it live.
I think that there have been so many times, like in my professional world, where I wanted to be angry about something, but you have to keep it professional, so you just kind of hold it in. And then you let it out in the weirdest way. So my example, I'm gonna be very specific. Last time I got into a fight with my boyfriend was when he went to class, and then usually he gets home like really late, either 11:30, midnight. I'm already asleep, I'm gone. And he'll wake me up to hug me and say, hey, I'm home, I missed you, whatever, and then we'll go to sleep, right? One time he didn't do that, and then I woke up and realized he was like in the living room reading, and I was like, how dare he not come say hello to me and tell me that he's, I mean, ridiculous. And then that led to a huge fight, which was so unnecessary and so irrational. But at least I'm self-aware enough to admit it,
That's
right?
awesome.
That's the key.
That's the key. All right, guys, well, tell us what you think. When was the last time you were irrationally upset or angry with someone? And also, do you feel upset about the fact that Dylann Roof is wearing a Gold's Gym tank top? Maybe there's a perspective that we haven't considered. So comment in the section below, tell us what you guys think, and we'll see you soon. Every year, there is a solstice festival in Yulin, China. Now, that sounds really pleasant, right? Except for the fact that thousands of dogs are tortured and then they're killed for food. Now, of course, it's a long-standing tradition in China to eat dog meat, and it's a cultural thing, and I know that there are a lot of people that are critical of that cultural element of their society. However, the big problem with this festival is the imagery that we've seen of these dogs being tortured prior to them being killed for meat. Now, one woman has actually spent a considerable amount of money in order to save these dogs. In fact, this year alone, a 65-year-old woman by the name of Yang has rescued over 100 dogs from the festival that took place on Sunday. Now, she had to travel 1,500 miles from her home in order to do this. She has rescued animals since 1995, and she founded a dog and cat sanctuary known as the Common Home for All. She's taken hundreds of animals and has sold her home in order to be able to afford to do what she's doing. She's a huge animal lover, and she's trying to make a point about how this is not something that she's in favor of. This is something that should stop in their society as soon as possible. Now, dog meat does have historical precedent in China. As I mentioned earlier, the tradition of eating dog meat dates back 400 or 500 years in China, South Korea, and other countries. Now, this festival is relatively new. It started back in 2009, and so some are wondering whether or not it even makes sense for them to continue, considering some of the poor treatment some of these animals have dealt with. So this is a very complicated story. I don't believe in the torture of any type of animal. I know here in the United States we do torture animals before we kill them for meat, and I do my best to try to research and prevent myself from eating meat or buying meat from those types of organizations. At the same time, people who are uncomfortable with Chinese individuals eating dogs, it is part of their culture, and what makes eating a dog different from eating a pig, for instance, right? And some people will say it has to do with intelligence, and I think it's an interesting debate. But I do want to hear from you guys. What do you think about this, Andy? Make your point.
Wow. I mean, I think we've deified our pets in America and probably most of Western civilization to a point where this is so repugnant and so horrific that we can't even stomach the idea of it, no pun intended. But, you know, when you practice moral relativity and cultural relativity and you try to say, well, that's just what they do, there's also cultures in the world, a lot more serious than this that are that don't recognize rape, that stone women for showing their ankles. And I think that it's our job as a global society. Ew, I hate that word. But it's our job as people who have the ability to understand, the science of like what is right or what is wrong in terms of how we're treating something, to try and all together get on the page of progress and move on from this.
Yeah, I think you make a really good point about how a story like this will get viral traction, but a story about societies that don't recognize something as serious as rape don't get much media play at all. Erica, what do you think? Make your point.
I mean, I also think we may be paying attention to the wrong part of the story. For me, this was so beautiful because it's exactly what we want people to do. When they have a problem with something, when there is something that makes them uncomfortable or offends them, or that they really want to change about their society, this woman isn't just complaining.
Yeah.
She is doing something. She's doing something tangible, practical. She's invested her life in this. And so for me, regardless of where I stand on dogs and animals and Chinese culture and moral relativism, I think what's really beautiful here is that this is at its core a story about a woman doing something for a cause that she believes in.
Yeah, that's a really great point. I love the fact that she's not just complaining and she's doing something about it. Oftentimes when you're on social media, especially Twitter, it's all about complaining and it's all about outrage, but there's very little discussion about solutions. All right, so here's the question for the story. What's the craziest food you've ever eaten? Erica.
Okay, so this is not, I don't sound very cultured here. Like, I'm cultured in a lot of ways, I promise. But with food, I kind of like to eat things that I've eaten before and like them. So I think for me, the wildest thing was tongue, which is actually not that wild. And it was good. I have a problem eating things also that look like a body part that I actually have. So it didn't work out for me, but more power to the tongue lovers.
All right. What about you, Auntie?
Oh my God, I've had food is, I mean, the world is a tasty place, my friends.
Yes,
first of all.
yes,
and I've had cow heart, octopus, and like all kinds of crazy things. The weirdest thing that I ever ate was at a restaurant called Animal in Los Angeles, and it was it's fried pig ear and sliced real thin, sort of like tortilla strips almost. And it was really great until the last bite when I got a lobe, and all of a sudden it went from, sorry to gross you out, but it's true. It went from eating like these flavorful sort of pork rindy kind of taste in tortilla strips to like I'm chewing on someone's ear. You know?
Wow.
And I checked out after that.
I really want to try Animal. It's like one of
great.
the long-standing
Yeah, it's a
restaurants
fantastic
in
restaurant.
LA that has all sorts of unique things that you can try. I think the craziest thing I've eaten is I had crickets. I went to Andrew Zimmern's South by Southwest party. I don't even know how we got invited to that. Okay, it was absurd. And he had these little crackers with fried crickets on it, and it was really good. They taste like potato chips.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why not
I'll
just eat
try.
potato chips then?
Well, because you want to be adventurous.
Oh,
I'm an
okay.
adventurous eater. I'll try anything at least once. But I want to know if you'll try anything at least once. What's the craziest food you've ever eaten? And more importantly, I do want to get a sense of what you guys think about this festival in China. Do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it? I think that it's a very fascinating debate when it comes to the issue of animals. Which type of animals are okay to kill for meat? Which type of animals are not okay to kill for meat? Comment in the section below. I love hearing from you guys, and we'll see you soon. Last week, we brought you the very important story of the Belly Button Challenge. What is the Belly Button Challenge for those of you who didn't see that awesome video? Well, it's basically a group of Chinese women, usually younger women, who want to prove to themselves that they're skinny enough, so they do this crazy reach around thing where they try to touch their belly button, and if they can touch their belly button, which by the way, I can't do, then that means that they're skinny. But if they can't do it, they're not skinny enough. Here's a little montage giving you examples of people attempting the Belly Button Challenge. Now, there is a UK lingerie brand known as Curvy Kate that caught wind of this campaign, and of course they didn't like it. And so they wanted to put a positive message out there about women's bodies and what you should do when it comes to feeling yourself up in the name of body image, okay? I love this. Now, there was a post by Curvy Kate, and what they're trying to do is be part of this affiliated group. It's known as Cop-A-Feel, to inform women about doing self-breast tests, right? So if you're gonna be touching your body, might as well do it for a good reason, okay? So here's what they say. We want to encourage you guys to check your boobs And the name of this campaign is known as the Boobs Over Belly Buttons. We want you to check your boobs and get to know what normal feels like rather than doing these ridiculous body shaming and downright painful demonstrations. Plus, who doesn't like having a good feel of their boobs? I know I do. We thought if people are going to spend time trying to reach around their belly button and share that message, why not spend time doing a boob check and sharing that, which is a far more positive health message and could actually change your life. Now, I have to say, when I first read about this, I was like, oh, the boobs over belly button challenge. Okay, so now we're just going to shame people who don't have tits. Is that what's going to happen? Because that's how these body image campaigns are. Either you're too skinny or you're too fat or you're not, in the middle. It's frustrating. But I like that they're taking the weight component out of it completely, and they're like, look, we just want to make sure that you're checking yourself to make sure you don't have breast cancer. So what do you guys think about this? Erica, I'm going to start with you because you're a woman. Okay.
I mean, first of all, I love touching my boobs. I do. I love touching myself, my boobs. I just think it's cool, it's fun, but also as someone who spent some time in cause marketing, this is brilliant. This totally lights my fire because it's like we're taking a campaign that is not just silly, it could potentially be harmful because it's projecting a really unnatural body image. And we're making it positive. And then, like you said, we're taking the weight and appearance element completely out of it and making it be something that all women need to do for their own health. So I just think it's absolutely amazing.
I love it too. Just a quick tangent. When it comes to self-breast tests, I just can't. I know you need to do it. I can't do it. I'm so afraid of finding something that I don't do it. But every month, ladies, you're supposed to. If you find something early, that's the #1 sign of whether or not you're going to survive cancer. Not to take it to a dark place. But Andy, make your point.
Well, it's great, sure. I think that it's a nice way to take a thing that is absolutely impossible. I cannot do it. I don't know if I'm intended to do it, but and turn it into a good thing. It always kind of freaks me out when some corporation or a company comes along and sees like a natural thing happening and then sort of like is the opportunist and then tries to make it about them. But I guess it's positive, and
it is positive.
And I don't really know that this affects anybody negatively. At the end of the day, Curvy Kate wants to sell their lingerie, but if this is a good way for them to also project what their corporate message is, then okay.
As long as it's a positive message, I'm totally fine with it. I just also find it interesting that whenever these like body campaign stories come out, it's always about women. Like you never hear a story about men, like cop a feel, grab your junk and see if your genitals are big enough. Like you don't see that kind of stuff, right?
Welcome to the patriarchy.
Exactly. A lot of the pressure is about women. Like, are you skinny enough? Are your boobs big enough? It's obviously very frustrating. All right, so which body part have you learned to love, Erica?
So for me, this is interesting because it started off, when I was young, I loved this body part, and then I got older and hated it, and now I'm learning to love it again, and it's my derriere.
Oh, nice.
I'm particularly curvy in the lower region of my body, and like when you're in your early teen years, like boys like that, and they're talking about it, and you want boys to like you, so it was like cute.
Yeah.
Then the older I got and the more mature I got, I realized that I was actually getting a lot of unwanted attention around it, right? The entire street harassment conversation, and so I began to like kind of shrink into myself and like wouldn't take my cover up off at the beach or the pool, like would wear baggy clothes. And I just started to feel really, really insecure about my curviness, even though it's absolutely beautiful.
Of course.
I like it.
Yeah.
But I'm having to like deprogram myself and work around like, no, you know what, own it. And other people giving you unwanted attention is their problem and something that I have the right to address, not with the way I consider and treat my own body.
I love that. That's such a good message. Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with maturing as an individual as well. Like you stop caring so much about what other people think and you start accepting who you are. It's a good feeling. Andy, what about you?
As a guy, there's so much less pressure on me to really care about any part of my body, quite honestly. And I think that the thing that I got over maybe in my early 20s was just like really caring that much about how I looked at all, and then realizing that that there's things that are more important in life to pay attention to or to care about. I mean, obviously doing what we do and being on camera all the time makes you kind of a bit of a narcissist, and I think that it's like really important to try and stave off those feelings of like, let me see myself, and is my hair perfect, and is my am I making a weird face or whatever. So I don't know if it gets any better for us. Sorry. Probably doesn't.
No, I think that vanity is something that everyone suffers from, and I don't even necessarily think that's a terrible thing. It all really depends on how you react to it. So kind of like you, I mean, I just hated my body, period, up until I was like about 27. And then when I was 27, I'm like, why am I wasting my time being so unhappy with my body? It's fine. And so once you stop caring so much about what other people think, and once you start realizing that you're lucky to be healthy and breathing, then your entire perspective on your body changes. So even though it's not perfect, I love my body, period. All right, well, tell us what you guys think. Comment in the section below and tell us which body part you have learned to love. And also, what do you make of this boobs over belly button challenge? Obviously, we had a very positive reaction here, but maybe you have some criticism. So share it in the comment section below. Can't believe I'm asking the commenters for criticism. We love hearing from you guys, and we'll see you soon. It's no surprise that most people have a lapse in judgment when it comes to certain things, especially after you have a family and you're busy doing what you need to do to take care of them. Well, Roxanne Daly didn't have the best idea when she decided to do a Father's Day photo shoot with her husband and with their young son. Now, they wanted to do a Batman-themed photo shoot, which sounded like a good idea, except they did it on train tracks, which is unbelievably dangerous. Now, the Wisconsin family received death threats as a result of these pictures, which I have to say look pretty impressive and pretty good. But when you consider the potential danger, all of a sudden you change your mind a little bit. Now, numerous people have died while walking on train tracks because the trains travel so quickly that sometimes you don't have the opportunity to react to it. So when people saw those pictures, they were livid about it because they felt that this family was putting this baby's life in danger. Now, the people online are actually being a little counterproductive because they're like, oh my God, you're putting this kid in danger. So now we're gonna dox you, share all of your personal information online, and then we're gonna come visit you at night when you least expect it. All right, that's probably not the best way to handle the situation, but that's what we've come to in the world of vigilante online justice. People see something they don't like, and their immediate reaction is, how can I share their phone number, their address, and how can I threaten them to make them feel even more uncomfortable and unsafe? I don't agree with that. I think that's the worst possible way of dealing with something, and honestly, I put that in the category of inciting violence. Andy, what do you think? Make your point.
Yeah, I mean, what moron says like, oh, if you do that, I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah. You could die.
You could die, so I'm gonna kill you for doing that. Also, like as far as the family goes, if you're that stupid, like really to put your family and your kid on an active railroad track, like maybe you don't deserve to live. I mean, that's probably a discussion for another time. No. I mean, I'm not serious. But like something I didn't recognize was in the article whether or not the actual, some train tracks are abandoned and they're not used at all. Those tracks look super shiny and new, so maybe they are. But I don't know. I mean, it does seem counterintuitive. It seems counterproductive to sort of get mad at them and go at them for that. But it's like, how are we as a society at a point where like we are just all so stupid?
I don't know.
Great question.
How are we all this dumb?
Yes, and I feel like it's not a new phenomenon. I think people have always been dumb, but now with the advancement of technology, we have more awareness about
how
it.
Stupid
We're like, oh my God, look at all these videos and pictures and stories of people doing stupid things. Now, what this family did was stupid, but they probably didn't really think it through before doing it. And again, we've all had these lapses in judgment. So I kind of feel bad for the family. Erica, what do you think? Make your point.
I really feel bad for the family. It was a mistake. They, I'm sure, didn't think that through. And they certainly, not only did they not think taking the pictures through, they clearly also didn't think through posting these online.
Yeah.
But also, when you get to the point of issuing a death threat, automatically you've invalidated your argument, you've put yourself in a different category, and you distract from the real issue at hand. Like it's beyond counterproductive. It's not just ironic, it's an actual waste of time, and it's a loss of a valuable conversation that could be happening.
I absolutely agree with you guys. Okay, so have you ever had a brush with death? Erica, let me start with you.
I did. 2 summers ago, I was driving from Maryland, where I lived at the time, to Boston, which for people who do a lot of long distance driving, that's nothing. It was like 6 to 8 hours, maybe it was 12, I honestly don't remember. But for me, I actually don't do a lot of long distance driving, and I stay up late. So long story short, I was driving back from Boston to Maryland at the end of the trip, and I fell asleep at the wheel.
Oh my God.
On the highway. And I'm not sure what jerked me awake, but all I know is that I opened my eyes and was about to drive directly into an 18-wheeler.
Oh, man.
And so instinctively, I just turned the wheel. And I don't know how this happened. It was a miracle. I didn't hit anyone, but I did drive headfirst into the median at 70 miles an hour.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So you think that was miraculous that I didn't hit anyone. I literally walked right out of the car.
That's
my God.
amazing.
I was completely disoriented. My car was totaled. I mean, I had these weird reactions because you don't have enough time in that moment to think, oh, I'm about to die. But the second it's over, like your body processes it, and I was just in shock. I did the weirdest thing. I kicked off my shoes before getting out of the car. I don't know why.
Oh, wow.
So like if you were driving by, you saw me in like shorts, barefoot, looking crazy in the middle of the highway with a smoking car.
God, that is, thank God.
So yeah, it's a hindsight situation where you recognize that was definitely a brush with death.
Absolutely. Oh my God, I'm so happy you're okay.
I am too, thanks.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Andy, what about you?
When I was in high school, I thought it was a great idea to try to learn how to fly an airplane. And so I was taking flying lessons in Indiana, and this is such a white person problem.
Was this before you even learned how to drive? This is
No,
in high school.
I think I was 17,
Okay.
so I was like a senior in high school. And you know what they do is they take you up and you have an instructor with you, and you're establish altitude at around 3,000 or 4,000 feet. It's very small planes, single engine Cessna type planes. And we were flying at an airport in Indiana where it's cheap to fly, so you have a lot of people coming from different parts of the world, specifically like South America, to learn how to fly for cheap and in an area that it's good to learn to fly there.
Yeah.
And so there was this pilot who was a helicopter pilot, and helicopter pilots are notorious for being insane people because they're difficult planes. They're not really planes. They're really difficult aircraft to fly. And this guy didn't speak very much English, and I could hear him on the radio, and we were announcing where we were, and I could hear him like kind of understanding it, but I was really trying to focus on flying, the plane. And my instructor was saying, "Hey, don't worry about it. Like, it's fine. You won't know." He won't get close to us. We do this kind of thing all the time where we do pattern practice. And so I'm looking at have this thing, it's sort of like a GPS thing on the flight deck, and it's called TCAS, which is just like where the planes are. And it shows you on a little concentric ring, like how far away the other planes are. So I'm flying, and then the helicopter shows up, and it gets a little closer, and it gets a little closer, and then it disappears completely. And all of a sudden, all of the noise, just like, the sirens go off in the plane, and we're like looking around, and my instructor's like, ugh, and he banks over really quickly. We bank over, and the helicopter comes straight up, right to the right of the plane. And it's so close that I can see the pilot wearing aviator sunglasses of the helicopter. And so after that, we got back on the ground, and I was like, nope, I'm done. Forget it. I'm going to journalism school. This is insane.
I'm not about that life.
So.
Like, I have no interest in flying a plane.
It's so fun.
So I just recently went to Costa Rica, and once you get to Costa Rica, there's the main airport that's far away from every part of Costa Rica you want to go to. So you have to book a small, tiny plane. It's almost like a private jet from the main airport to whichever destination you want to end up in. And I was so scared, just because the smaller the plane is, the less stable it feels, and I thought that it was going to crash like as it was landing, but it ended up being fine. My brush with death actually happened early on in life. I was 2 years old, and somehow I wandered into the backyard of our home where there was a huge pool, and then it has, of course, a deep end that I think is about 12 feet deep. That's how deep it is. And I fell into the deep end of the pool, and I don't know how this happened. Obviously, I was 2, I don't remember. But my parents said that I held on to the edge of the pool for dear life. And then when they finally saw me, they, of course, saved me, and everything was fine. But imagine that. Like, you're 2 years old, you don't really know what you're doing. If I hadn't held on to that edge of the pool, I'd be gone. So that was my brush with death. All right, but I want to hear about you guys. Have you ever had a brush with death? Our stories are very sad and scary, but maybe you can add to it. So comment in the section below. We love hearing from you guys, and we'll see you soon. One Chinese woman was so wrapped up in her texting conversation that she didn't realize there was a drain beneath her, and she fell through it. Now, the teenager got her leg wedged inside, and people could not pull her out. It was a disaster. But of course, they took pictures because we live in the world of technology, and everyone wants to document everything. Now, the fire brigade was called, and they were able to pull her out after 45 minutes. She did suffer some injuries. I love how they censored her leg there. Like,
I think it's just I think it's just pixelated because it's like a Snapchat photo or something.
That was a weird photo.
Yeah, that was a weird photo. Anyway, her leg was scratched, bruised, and numb from being squeezed through the bars. An eyewitness says the girl was obviously embarrassed. She was covering her face, as you can see in that picture, so people wouldn't get her image as they were like snapping, trying to take pictures of her. It's unknown as to whether or not she lost her phone. Because that's the real tragic part of the story. Erica, make your point.
I mean, this is like beyond secondhand embarrassment. I cringed when I read this story because I felt so bad for her. I read one headline or one lead to a story that said something like, texting while walking can result in injury or a complete loss of dignity, like with this young woman. Like, I just feel bad for her.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a lesson to be learned.
I feel like we've all done it too, like where you're in the middle of something and it's just intense and you don't want to get your eyes off the phone and then all of a sudden you run into something. Has that happened with you, Andy? Make your point.
I've never run into something, but I think that we are all addicted to our smartphones. And,
Yes.
I mean, I imagine a lot of people are watching this right now on a smartphone. So, you know, this is, if anything could ever show that it's like a good idea to put it down every once in a while, this is one of those things. I was just on a family vacation, and we were, you know, it was like an adult family vacation. We were all hanging out, and even at like dinner time, we had to tell ourselves, like, put the phones down in the middle of the table.
I know.
Let's have like time together here and not, you know, just be texting or Snapchatting the whole time.
It's difficult not to do it. I'm definitely addicted to technology. All right, so would you rather lose your cell phone or your wallet? I love this question so much. Erica.
I mean, I think that the pain of losing the phone would be a lot for me, but practically speaking, losing a wallet sucks. I lost my wallet 4 weeks ago, and just the idea of having to replace all of your IDs, all of your makeup, just everything that you might keep in your wallet, it's actually a much bigger hassle than just going and replacing a phone.
Oh, interesting.
For me, anyway.
Okay, what about you, Andy?
Yeah, I agree. Phone's replaceable. My Vons gift card is not.
Oh, okay. I don't have any gift cards, so I'm gonna go with phone. If I lost my phone, I'd be devastated. Do you know how much smartphones are?
So get the insurance.
Yeah, if you have insurance,
if you're a person
it's not that big of
who's
a
losing
deal.
stuff anyway.
I don't do the insurance thing. I feel like it's a scam, so I don't do it.
Well, then you deserve to pay.
Oh my God.
I've lost both. It sucks.
The
Yeah.
iPhone 6 was like $750.
Oh, yeah.
It's
I got the Plus.
insane.
It's
yeah.
a lot.
And like the only time I get a new phone is when I'm qualified for an upgrade, and even with the upgrade, it's like $400.
Yeah.
Like, get the fuck out of here.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, it's free to replace your credit cards and stuff, and I don't have any gift cards, so I'll go with phone. But I want to know what you guys think. What would you rather lose, your phone or your wallet? And also, have you ever run into something while you're in the middle of a texting conversation? Do you text while you drive?
No.
I know a lot of people in LA still do that. Comment in the section below, share your stories, and we'll see you soon. A new way of taking drugs, psychedelics to be specific, has emerged. And for those of you who are interested in microdosing, we have the information for you. Although, I don't know if I really recommend it. Now, microdosing is known as taking small amounts of psychedelics, and it's supposed to give you a better time dealing with tasks that you have to deal with on a daily basis, right? Now, Dr. James Fadiman is the leading researcher and advocate for microdosing, and he wrote a book about this. He wrote The Psychedelic Explorer's Guide, and he examined the primary uses for psychedelics. He specifically looked at LSD and things like that to see how they can help us cope with daily issues, all right? And so his study of volunteers had some pretty promising results. Let me give you his statement. He says, as someone said, the rocks don't glow, even a little bit. But what many people are reporting is, at the end of the day, they say, that was a really good day. You know, the kind of day when things kind of work. You're doing a task you normally couldn't stand for 2 hours, but you do it for 3 or 4. You eat properly, maybe you do more sets of reps. And also, you just have a good day. That seems to be what we're discovering. Now, study participants functioned normally in their work and their relationships. They also reported increased focus, emotional clarity, and creativity. To have a trippy experience on psychedelics, you'd have to take a lot more than what the volunteers took. So let me be specific about that. When it comes to LSD, to get a trippy experience, you would have to take 400 micrograms of the stuff. But for microdosing, you only take 10 to 15 micrograms. Similar microdoses for other psychedelics would include 0.2 to 0.5 grams of dried mushrooms. Typically, people will take 1/5 of a
Let me write this down.
I know.
Exactly what the recipe is.
So I think this is all really interesting stuff. There's another researcher by the name of James Orrick who thinks this isn't necessarily a bad idea. He says that LSD can increase your reflex time to lightning speed. This is just making me want to do drugs. I don't know if we're doing you guys any favors. All right, improve your balance to the point of perfection, increase your concentration until you experience tunnel vision, and make you impervious to weakness or pain. Apparently, these are magic drugs that I am now kind of interested in. All right, Erica, make your point.
So, I mean, you know, this story is a little bit irritating to me just because I have a friend who was a journalist and suffered from PTSD. She was a journalist in war zones and tried absolutely everything. And for her, the solution was psychedelics. And so she actually ended up leaving her post at CNN and starting an entire journalism enterprise focused on the impact of psychedelics. So I actually I'm pretty open to the idea that psychedelics have a positive impact. But then when you hear stories like this of people taking it, I just want to have a better day. Like, I just want a little more focus, want to have some fun. Like, it just feels like it minimizes the conversation around the real impact that psychedelics could potentially have.
I think that it also sends a negative message in that we self-medicate instead of cope with problems that are thrown our way. And I do it. I think a lot of people do it. And so you kind of have to find a way to work through your issues because you don't want to be dependent on substances for the rest of your life, whether it be painkillers or other prescriptions or psychedelic drugs like this. Andy, what do you think?
Yeah, I have no desire for any kind of low dose thing that I do for the rest of my life unless it's caffeine. And I do wonder how different it is than something like, you know, drinking 4 or 5 cups of coffee. Because I will say that without it, without caffeine, not hallucinogenic drugs. without caffeine, sure. I cannot function for the majority of the day.
Absolutely
and I really need it, and I'm totally addicted to it. And I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing. I mean, apparently, you know, there's a lot of studies that say drinking a lot of coffee is good for you. Now, I don't know if this would be necessarily better for you because maybe it doesn't have some of the other side effects that I don't really know that coffee has. But, you know, I'm just curious to see, it's a very interesting thing. It kind of reminds me of the movie Limitless.
Yeah, I think that Erica really hit the nail on the head because psychedelics, I definitely believe, have a medicinal use. But I don't want to minimize it by talking about things like microdosing. If someone genuinely needs it, they just cannot deal with their day and they genuinely need it to function, I totally understand. But I just think that this leaves room for experimentation and abuse that shouldn't really happen. And I'm not judgmental when it comes to drugs. I've talked about my drug use on the show before. I just don't want people to self-medicate because I think that causes more harm than good. All right, here's the question for the story. How do you boost your mood or energy naturally? Erica.
I sing. I sing a lot. I sing loudly. I mean, I actually am a good singer. But when I'm trying to feel better, I'm not really interested in how I sound. I just it's kind of like, did you ever watch Grey's Anatomy?
Yeah.
When they did the silly dancing? I do that with singing, and I swear instantly I feel better.
That's awesome. I love that. All right, I want to hear you sing one day. Maybe I'll pressure you on the show one day. We'll see. Andy, what about you?
I love driving. I think driving when you're not in Los Angeles, you know, if you can go out to some of the canyon roads or something like that, it's really it's exciting. It's relaxing all at the same time, but also sort of invigorating, and that's what I do.
I love driving on the open road.
Yeah,
it's
so
very
fun.
Therapeutic, especially when you got the music going.
Right.
And it just feels
Meditative.
good. You're right. For me, it's running. Running.
Oh yeah, that's
Are you one of those people?
I hated running for the longest time until I went through a bad breakup, and then I just I don't know, I had this urge to run, and now I'm addicted to it. It just releases endorphins, and you feel so much better. So that's the natural way I do it. But of course, everyone has their unnatural ways of boosting their mood. Share your stories, though. I want to hear what you guys do to boost your mood naturally, and what do you think of microdosing? Maybe some of you are already relying on psychedelics. Again, no judgment zone. I do want to hear from you guys because you give me perspectives on these stories that maybe I haven't considered. Comment in the section below, and we'll see you soon, guys. Iowa Supreme Court has just ruled that telemedical abortions are constitutional, they are protected by law, and as a result, they should be allowed in Iowa. Now, what are telemedical abortions? It sounds kind of crazy, but it's a program that allows doctors from clinics like Planned Parenthood to talk to women through a video conference to prescribe the pills necessary to have an abortion. Now, of course, there are 2 different types of abortions that people can get. One requires a prescription pill, and this story is regarding that, the prescription pill and the teleconference that you would have to have with a doctor in order to get that prescription. Now, the Iowa Supreme Court found that the medical board's rule imposed an undue burden on women seeking an abortion. The rule was basically that women would have to be with a doctor face to face. The reason why they said that it's unconstitutional is because it is an undue burden. In states like Iowa, it's really, really difficult for some women living in more rural areas to get to these clinics. So as a result, the Supreme Court said, no, you can't ban it. We're in favor of it and we're going to allow it. Now, Now, the doctors talk to women over video and prescribe the abortion pills through the webcam. The patients do have to undergo an exam in person with a nurse or another clinician who's not a doctor, okay? So that's what kind of makes this a little different. The medical board had argued that the procedure left patients improperly supervised, which is not true. About 8,000 women in Iowa have already used this program to get an abortion, and it has very little complications. But there is one doctor who wanted to make a statement about this, and I think he really hit the nail on the head. He says, without remote access to medication abortion, more women would have to delay or even forego abortion care. This is especially true in a state like Iowa, where many women have had to travel hundreds of miles in order to reach an abortion clinic. I think that Iowa's Supreme Court sided with the right side in this story. I think that they made the right decision, but I want to know what you guys think about this. Erica, let me start with you. Make your point.
I mean, so when I first heard about telemedic abortions, it freaked me out, but not because it was abortions, because of the telemedic aspect of it. And that's because I'm the type of person that likes to, like, when I'm having a doctor's appointment, I also want you to check the gland behind my ear. And also I'm having a pain in my leg. Like, I just like the human face-to-face in-person interaction. That said, if this has been proven safe, and if it increases women's access to a reproductive service that is their legal right, then I'm all for it.
All right, I agree with you. Andy, what about you?
Yeah, I think this is really more of a legal issue than it is even necessarily a do you agree with abortion or not issue. If Iowa says that it's legal to have an abortion, and this is not like somebody sitting in a control room flying a drone, that kind of telemedical thing, then it's just someone prescribing, talking to someone and prescribing something. Like, the procedure isn't done over Skype or something like that.
Right, exactly.
Then I don't really see how you could make a constitutional argument against it.
Exactly. And right now we're dealing with so many red states that are trying to make it even more difficult for women to practice their reproductive rights. And the reality is, look, there was a ruling in 1973 indicating that women have a right to abortion. And it's up to the states to decide what the restrictions may be. But if the fetus is not viable outside the womb, well, the woman should have reproductive rights. And in this case, Iowa Supreme Court, again, made the right ruling, constitutionally speaking. Now, what part of technology are you worried about in the future? What kind of technological advancements do you worry about in the future? Erica?
Well, like I said in response to that story, I think I just am generally fearful of the way technology limits human interaction. And so while I love technology and I appreciate what it can do for us, I worry about where we'll be if we're not able to really feel one another and touch one another. It's kind of an emo response, but
I love that. I think it's so true.
I mean, I guess the one that I'm afraid of, which actually has nothing to do with emotions or touching people, but driverless cars, that freaks me out. I just feel like I want to drive. Make it easier for me to drive, but don't take that away from me.
Yeah. What about you, Andy?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think we're so disconnected from reality already. It's like anything more that will, keep us from having to actually interact and be human beings, I think is dangerous. What really freaks me out is nanotechnology. I don't know how science fiction it is. It's pretty science fiction, but the idea that you could engineer these little machines that are the size of molecules that could go and affect things, whether that be computers or people's brains, or I mean, it is a little Orwellian, obviously, but I mean, theoretically, the theoretical science is there that we could. Imagine spreading a virus through the air that we had created in a computer in order to, not necessarily even make people know that they're infected, but control their brains. That's crazy.
See, that's the weird part about technology, because the flip of that, right, is that nanotechnology probably has so many other scientific and medical benefits.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like we don't trust humans, really, is what the problem is.
And that's the thing. It's up to us to be careful.
I mean, we haven't been really good with regulating technology since, honestly, the internet, when you really think about it. I mean, the internet and telecommunications and all of that has been used for so many bad things, even though it's also been used for so many good things. Right. And part of the reason why is because we don't have certain safeguards to protect us from, things like the government spying on us and, abusing that kind of technology. I worry about artificial intelligence because right now we're having a huge issue with technology taking over people's jobs. And I get it. The argument is, well, then we have to adapt to that and we have to create jobs that, humans can do and robots can't do. But with artificial intelligence, then we're all screwed, right? All of a sudden we're going to have robots doing the news and then I'm screwed. I don't like that. So as a result, I'm banning artificial intelligence. If I was president of the world, no more advancement. No more advancements in artificial intelligence.
The election's coming up, I think. So. World president-elect.
I would like to announce my run. Anyway, guys, tell us what you think. What type of technology are you most fearful of? And also, what do you think about telemedical abortions? Do you think that it makes sense that Iowa voted or ruled in this regard? I want to hear from you guys, so comment in the section below, and we'll see you soon. We're all guilty of spending time on the internet looking at things that we probably shouldn't be wasting our time on. One of those things includes cat videos. But it turns out that looking at cat videos online is good for your health. That's according to a study done by
Cats.
by cats and YouTube. No, it's a study that was done by experts at Indiana University of Bloomington. They surveyed nearly 7,000 people to figure out what kind of emotions or feelings they have after looking at these cat videos. So the participants were asked how often they view cat videos and or photos online. Turns out the average person watches cat videos between the 2 to 3 times a week and daily. So the researchers found 72% of the sample of people reported more positive feelings after watching the cat videos. So they're watching it often and they're feeling pretty damn good after they watch it. As a result, we want to make you feel good, so we have a cat compilation video for you. Take a look.
Yes.
Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more.
Classic. This is like a greatest hits compilation.
I love this.
Love that.
Remember why I don't like
An
cats.
asshole. This is what we do with it, right?
Girl, you was talking to on the phone last night?
Oh, that was Jake from State Farm, girl. Chill.
Get off me, you.
I love his new hat.
Oh, he's a little handicapped.
Whoa, back up. Stop playing, I'm dead serious. I got a girlfriend, calm down.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me.
All right, so now I ask you to consider the way you feel, and also keep in mind that the respondents or the volunteers in this study claimed that they had fewer negative emotions such as anxiety, annoyance, or sadness. They also felt more pleasure than guilt, and even though most people indulged either while at work or during the time of the study, they felt that, hey, you know what? My mood has improved, so screw it. I love that. So cat videos have received a whopping 26 billion views in 2014 alone. And it's something that YouTube has always been known for. So I kind of want to reflect on this a little bit and see what you guys think. Andy, make your point.
Okay, so I think that it makes sense that something that would be funny would make people feel good. And I don't know that this is necessarily like a huge surprise, you know, as far as as far as we are all laughing, we all thought it was good, and I feel happier now. I mean, before you guys were really bumming me out, but now I feel a little better about it. But it's also cool because Indiana University is where Lil Bub hails from, one of the internet's most famous cats.
Oh,
He hails from the university?
Well,
Like he went there?
IU Bloomington. Yeah, it's an alma mater.
That's awesome. I know nothing about cats. I actually don't watch cat videos. I watch sloth videos.
You are a freak.
No. Sloth videos are the best. Just watch. There's the one video of a sloth in the middle of the street, and he's trying to cross, and he's like slow, and they're so cute. Oh, I love it. What about you, Erica?
Yeah, I mean, anything that takes some guilt out of a guilty pleasure, I love.
Yeah.
But like everyone here, I wonder if it's about the cats. I don't watch cat videos. I hate cats. I think they're weird and scary and will take over the world one day.
Did you see them? They're
yeah,
lunatics.
like that. I don't want that in my house. I don't like.
They're conniving assholes.
But I watch baby videos, and I guess it would probably
Who are
be the
equally
same.
evil.
No, they're wonderful and perfect, and I'm sure that I have like a lot of positive emotions after watching them too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just love cute videos, period. Well, what's one thing that you spend a lot of time doing online, Andy?
Oh God, I had to stop because I was addicted to it, and it was news and reading news.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what it was probably a couple weeks ago when I just realized I was like, I'm reading the same article over and over and over again. We were just changing the dates and changing the names. And I think that it happens probably to everybody who works in this
Yes,
industry.
absolutely.
But I've had to recently just sort of like disconnect. I log out of my Facebook now because otherwise I will just open up Chrome and just go facebook.com and just start like sucking my life away into a news feed about race baiting and anger and outrage. And you know, it's amazing how how much effect it has on you as a person and in your sort of daily existence. And now I feel so much happier because I don't pay attention to it every day. It probably makes me not a great panelist anymore. So.
No, that's not true. I think that you probably pay enough attention. But I agree, a lot of news stories get recycled, and you're like, wait, we did this story like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Erica, what do you think?
I'm obsessed with watching interviews on YouTube. Cool. So it starts off very smart and respectable. Like I'll watch a Toni Morrison interview, and then like 2 nights ago I was up at 3 in the morning watching a Dolly Parton interview from like 1992. Like
Jolene.
right? Like she was talking to Barbara Walters. It was fascinating. She was cute. Barbara Walters was like an asshole and really insulting. I loved it. But the point is, like, I just get YouTube and the internet in general is a black hole. Like you go in and you end up someplace so far from where you intended to be.
Deep dark recesses of the internet.
Yes.
I spend an irrational. I spend an
college
irrational
educated.
amount of time.
What the internet did. The internet did that to you.
I spend
Irregardless.
an irrational amount of time on Instagram. I don't know what it is. I just love Instagram. It's not even looking at my pictures or my friends' pictures. Their Discover page is just the best thing in the world. So I'm like looking at it for hours. So I don't even know how many years of my life have been spent doing that, but it's a lot. Anyway, guys, tell us what you spend your time doing online. We want to hear your stories. And also, if you haven't subscribed, why not? You should be subscribing to my show. There's a subscribe button up there or somewhere around here. I'm pointing around. You'll figure it out. Anyway, we do want to hear from you guys. Comment in the section below, and we'll see you soon. All right, that does it for the show today. That was fun. I love having you guys on the program.
Thank you.
And I'm sure our audience wants to know more about both of you. So Andy Riesmeyer, please tell them where they can find you.
It's doubtful, but if you do want to find out more about me, you can check me out on Twitter at @AndyRiesmeyer. Wait, no, what the hell? At Andy Riesmeyer.
We all
I told you I disconnected from the internet, so now I don't understand. Hashtag me. You just Google it.
Erica Williams-Simon.
I'm guessing this one's my camera. I actually don't know. But,
That's your baby.
Perfect, thank you. You can find me online, ericawilliams.com, upworthy.com, time.com, or on Twitter at createdbyerica with a C.
Awesome.
When you find her page, you won't believe what happens next.
Don't make fun of
I'm
it.
sorry.
Damn. All right. I'm Ana Kasparian. You guys can check me out on The Young Turks, youtube.com/The Young Turks, where we post a bunch of new videos every day. I'm on Instagram, as you all know, Ana Kasparian TYT, and Twitter at Ana Kasparian. Thank you so much for watching. I love that you guys share your stories. I do read your comments, and if you haven't subscribed, please do so. And remember, never be afraid to make your point. That's the real problem. But we're focusing on a Gold's Gym shirt. How ridiculous is our society, and how do we move forward to finding solutions to serious social issues that we have when we're focused on ridiculous elements like this? Erica, what do you think? Make your point.
I mean, as if we needed any more of a reminder that like humanity is in a really sucky place right now. Like you have racism, you have killing, and then you just have stupidity. I mean, I think this is a story that's just a matter of trolls. Like this is just people who either are reacting irrationally and kind of don't know where to like place their anger, and so they're looking for someplace, or they're just dumb. It's one or the other. But I think you said it right and said it best. It's a distraction, and we need to be talking about way more important things.
Andy, make your point.
You couldn't have said it any better. I think that unfortunately it is distracting from the issue at hand, which is that there's this horrible tragedy that occurred, and we should examine what what the factors were that led up to it. Not so much of the externalization of like what an asshole is wearing in an image. And yes, I mean you have to really to honestly believe that Gold's Gym.
He's not even buff. Hashtag poser. Hashtag Charleston shooting. Well, a Gold's Gym staffer has been busy responding to all of these tweets that they're getting on social media. And let me give you an example of some of the exchanges that you could find. Derica says, Gold's Gym, an image in media of Dylann Roof wearing a Gold's Gym shirt, holding a Confederate flag is offensive to its paying members. Okay. Again, Gold's Gym has nothing to do with this. They didn't encourage him to wear the shirt. But nonetheless, they responded back and said, we are unsettled about the situation as you are. Unfortunately, all we can do is ask that those images not be shared. And then Derica was not pleased with that answer. Seems like you should be able to have more control over how your brand is used by the media.
Okay.
I feel like there are so many serious issues related to this story that we should discuss, right? Just the deep-seated racism that we have in this country, what we could do to actually solve it, the fact that people deny that he's a racist to begin with. I mean,
Jim is somehow either implicit in this act or condones it or has anything to do with it. You would have to either be totally moronic or a troll. Or both.
It's the equivalent of him in a picture holding a Starbucks coffee cup, and then someone will be like, oh my God, Starbucks, what do you have to say about this? Every single person in the United States has had coffee from Starbucks at some point.
Right.
That doesn't mean that Starbucks condones any of the actions that all of these people have committed in the past.
No, I mean, it's insane. And to say like, oh, well, you need to have more control over what the media does with your brand is just a complete ignorance. I mean, it's just someone who might as well be tweeting, I'm a moron.
Exactly. All right, well, here's the personal question for the story. When was the last time you were irrationally angry with someone? Erica.
Thinking about this, let's say that all the people who were responding to this story were not complete idiots, although I think the majority of them are, but then some, like I said, may have been actually angry, legitimately angry about what was happening, and then acting irrationally. That actually is pretty much what I do a lot. Like, I'll be angry about something that is very logical, very rational.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to a new edition of The Point. We have a great show ahead for you guys, and of course, we're going to delve into a discussion about Dylann Roof, but we're going to delve into an angle that you probably haven't heard much of in the mainstream press. And then later on in the show, we're going to talk about a girl who isn't paying attention to where she's going while she's texting. There are dire consequences to that, and we'll tell you the details. But before we get to all those fun stories, let's go ahead and meet our panelists for the show today. We have two returning panelists that I absolutely love. Andy Riesmeyer, he is the host of Weebcast.
That's right.
Thank you for coming back,
Thanks
Andy.
for having me.
I'm always surprised when you come back because I feel like I don't know why I pick on you more than most guests.
Oh no, I'm happy. I'm happy to be picked on. I don't know, it's fun.
Okay, good. We also have Erica Williams-Simon. She is an editor for Upworthy and contributing writer for Time Magazine. Get it, girl.
I'm excited to be here.
Love it. All
You
right.
have a real job.
Kind of.
Unlike the rest of us.
No, we're pretending.
Right. All right. Well, let's get started with some of the stories that we have for you guys today. Of course, we start off with some somber news. There was a very tragic shooting last week in South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina, to be specific. Dylann Roof, a self-proclaimed racist 21-year-old, went into a historically black church and shot and killed 9 innocent individuals during a Bible study session. Now, he also wrote a manifesto, and it was on a website called The Last Rhodesian, and he has all these pictures of himself online that have gone viral. People have been sharing the pictures to kind of get a sense of who he is as a person. And unfortunately, in a few of the pictures, he's wearing a Gold's Gym tank top. And that has upset a lot of people, even though Gold's Gym has absolutely nothing to do with this case and did not encourage him to wear a shirt and has nothing to do with his manifesto or his racist, violent acts. Now, let me give you some examples of what people are saying on Twitter. One tweet by LW says, Gold's Gym must be proud. The worst free advertising ever.